Well, this doesn't need to be in here. I don't remember why this is even in here. Oh, hello. Welcome back to my garden. Today I'm going to be working on getting the greenhouse ready for the winter. It's October, what are we, 3rd, 4th now? I have no, 3rd, we're October 3rd. And the weather is cooling. Shade cloth has got to come off, and then I have to start wiping down some of the windows. So let's start with the shade cloth. I'm trying to remember how I tied this down here. I think it's just tent stakes. Yes, I just did some tent stakes. You know, I put the shade cloth up on my greenhouse not so that I can continue to grow throughout the summer months down here in eastern North Carolina. No, it's just to keep the interior cooler. And even with the shade cloth, this is 90% by the way, and even with this on, the interior of the greenhouse gets to about 120 degrees during the peak of the summer, which is way too hot. So that's really why the shade cloth is on there. There's things inside that I don't want basically baking or cooking instantaneously. I don't want the greenhouse itself to become an easy bake oven. This was a good idea using tent stakes this year to help hold down at least this side, reduce the amount of string that I had to use to help keep this all in line. But now, being October 3rd, it is time for it to come off. Now, we are expected to have some days that will be getting into the 80s, I think next week, early next week maybe. But then after that, the temperature is going to be dropping down to 70s, mid to low 70s. I won't be growing anything in the greenhouse this winter, and I'll explain more about that in a second. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to use the greenhouse. I'm not sure if I'm in shot, but I stretch this out onto this pole, stretch out the shade cloth onto the pole, and I tie it off to the pole. But I'm hoping next year what I'll be able to do is attach the shade cloth to the new potting shed, which will go right here. And I've also been thinking about ways to make the whole shade cloth system smoother and easier. So this way, as I get older, it'll just be a matter of tossing it over the greenhouse and then maybe just hooking it onto the potting shed without having to get on ladders or tie crazy knots or something along those lines. I've been thinking about that, but first I have to build the potting shed. Yeah, I definitely don't want to be doing this when I'm in my 60s. Oh, it's always a bit tricky. I made a mistake. I have to close the roof vents first, otherwise the shade cloth itself keeps getting snagged on the roof vents. Back up the ladder. Oh, come on. I think I'm going to take this and lay it out and then fold it up and then find a place somewhere in the garage to stuff this until next season. And we're on our way to 100 degrees already here in the greenhouse. Well, it's very important to reopen the roof vents to let all that fresh air in. Thankfully today is a very nice breeze. I think today's supposed to get up to about 75. And then, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I think later this weekend, early next week, we're supposed to get into the low 80s, but that sun really heats this space up. Now, I could have left the shade cloth on until next week, but next week I may be doing other things or may want to do other things. Again, we're in early October, so things are going to start picking up a little bit. There's a ton of garden cleanup to do. Plants need to be pulled out of the ground, weeding, mulching, all these things out in the garden. So if I can get a start here in the greenhouse, just starting to get the space ready for the winter, then I'm one step further. And if it's a couple of days of inconvenient heat here in the greenhouse, so be it. Again, there's nothing here in the greenhouse at the moment. If you have a greenhouse, let me know in the comments below. What do you do in your greenhouse to prepare for the winter if you use your greenhouse in the winter? Some of you may not. You may be sort of in the same boat as I am, where I don't use my greenhouse in the summertime because it's too hot. You may not use your greenhouse in the wintertime because it's too cold. But if you do have a heated greenhouse or something along those lines, then let me know in the comments below. One of the things I'm currently storing here in my greenhouse is the loofah that I'm growing. I'm drying these out. I'm pressing on them now. They're starting to crunch and break, which is good. That's the first step you have to do, is you have to let the skin thoroughly dry, the loofah itself thoroughly dry. Then you can peel off the skin, and then you can check out all the 8 billion seeds that are in each side of inside of each one of these loofahs. And then you can slice them and dice them and give them out to your friends for Christmas. Loofah sponges. One of the things that I have in here right now that's a bit of an annoyance are plant stakes. Something that doesn't need to be in here, should be in the garage at the moment. I'm going to take it back over to the garage for the time being. But then hopefully once I get my potting shed built, this is where they'll go. And one of the goals of having the potting shed is so that the greenhouse doesn't become a collecting storage bin area for shovels, bamboo stakes, green stakes, that kind of thing. Here's some pruners that, again, should go back into the garage. If I had the potting shed, they'd go into the potting shed along with the shovels, really any other tools. These bamboo stakes, they're all going to have a home in the potting shed as well. And when I build the potting shed, or before I build the potting shed, at some point during the construction of the potting shed, or before, I will explain exactly where all these bamboo stakes are going to go. Now for the time being, I am going to leave these rakes and shovels here in the greenhouse because I will be using all these over the next few weeks / months for various things. So they can stay in here for the moment. One of the things I said I was going to do in preparation for this winter, and it is going to happen, is I was going to replace this hardware cloth with wood slats as I had done on the other side. The reason being is the hardware cloth here sags, and then pots like tilt in towards each other, the trays dip, and it's always a pain. So this is coming out. I've already ordered wood to do the slats on top. I just got some furring strips. Cheapest wood I could find. I was going to use pallet boards, but I don't have enough. I would have enough to maybe do half. Maybe, and that's being optimistic. A lot of the pallet wood I have is fairly rotten or has splits through the middle, and just not enough to do the bench here. So I have wood coming in. I think it's coming in next Thursday. I'll be cutting myself the lengths that I need, taking up this hardware cloth, putting the slats in place. Some point down the road in the far future, I may wind up painting the benches, maybe. I think nice white over everything would look really cool. So that's what's going to be happening with this bench. Some of you, if you have greenhouses and you don't use them throughout the winter, again, because it may be too cold or such, you would probably leave this task to the springtime. But because I'm going to use the greenhouse over the winter time, again, not to grow anything, just to keep plants that can't tolerate frost out of the freezes, out of the frosts. Again, eastern North Carolina, the ground doesn't freeze, but we still get frosts and freezes. I just want to give a quick wipe down to the glass. And this way it provides as much light in as possible during those winter months, especially because light is at a premium. It's important to do this. I'm not going to bore you guys with watching me wipe down the whole greenhouse, but needless to say, this will get wiped down out here and in here. And especially inside the greenhouse here, one of the problems I have is frogs, lizards, mostly lizards, like to reside inside the greenhouse, and they will leave their fecal material all over any flat surface, which is a little gross, but everybody's got to poop, right? So I like to give everything a wipe down so that it's just that much cleaner for the winter time. The glass is cleaner, the shelving is cleaner. I mean, this is not necessarily shelving, this is just a supporting beam, but you guys get the point. Another reason I like to do a wipe up here in the greenhouse before the winter time is during the summertime, I get a lot of spiders in here, which is really gross, and then there's webs everywhere. So I just like to maybe wipe them up, shoo the spiders out of here, and it just makes the space a little tidier and not looking like a haunted house. Well, there we go. It's a little cleaner. It's a little nicer. I still have to clean the door. There's still some more work to be done, but I don't have to do it all today. As long as I get a good chunk of it done, which I did. The bench is clear. Hopefully it stays relatively clear. I think the wood I have for that coming in is next week. So I'll put those slats down, and if I get them in time, if I get them done in time for Friday's video, I'll show you guys the outcome. I mean, it won't be that big of a deal. It's just gonna be wood slats on top of the bench, but I'll show it to you guys anyways, if I remember, or if you guys remind me. Either way. So you may be asking yourselves, what do I intend on storing in here? Well, it would pretty much be what you guys would store inside your greenhouses, or you would bring into your houses. Frost-sensitive plants. I have salvias that are in pots. I have various seedlings over here on the side bench that are probably too small. They're going to be too sensitive to a frost or a freeze. I got a hot lip salvia, which is putting on new growth, so that would definitely go inside. I have 4 Salvia Amistad cuttings that look like they're putting on growth. In fact, one's got a flower. I'm just going to pinch that off. I don't need it putting any energy into flowers. I need to put any energy into roots. But the Salvia Amistad would go into the greenhouse. I'm thinking also bringing in the Agapanthus. I have a bunch of Agapanthus by the back deck. They'll be coming in. There's a few other plants that I have in pots throughout the garden that I'll be bringing into the greenhouse. Oh, and of course, all my citrus trees, they come into the greenhouse for the winter, just in case we get a hard freeze. The dream is to get the potting shed done by Christmas. Before Christmas would be nice, but by Christmas, and then I can transfer a lot of tools and other stuff from the greenhouse into the potting shed. So I don't know if you guys can see, there's a whole back rack filled with various gardening materials, fertilizers, pots, etc., etc. They'll go all in the potting shed. That then frees all of that whole rack space up for seedlings next year. The potting bench that I have currently in here, that will come out. I'm thinking right now, maybe I'll keep this 4-foot space open to put a couple of the citrus trees in here, because I have 4 citrus trees and it starts to get really crowded in the greenhouse, especially if I want to use the bench on the other side. It always becomes a hassle trying to reach over, through, and around citrus trees. So if I have an open space right here in the front where I can put them, I think that's what I'll do. Limited amount of space, got to make the most of it. So if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Click that bell icon to be notified when I do post a new video. This week, you can follow along with my antics. Follow along with my winter crops, see how they fare out in the raised beds, see how all that works. Watch the building of the potting shed. That's going to be it's going to be a few episodes, because I'm not a good build. I'm not a builder at all, honestly. So it's going to take me a few weeks to get it built, but follow along and you'll see how all that turns out. If you guys have any questions, comments, please leave them below. With all that being said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.